Good morning. I'm Gavin Pickin, and I'm doing another daily training on CodeWars. So, for those who don't know, CodeWars is a great site for you to practice a little puzzle or skill. It's basically TDD testing. You get a use case or a story you have to fulfill, you get a function, you get some tests, and you have to make the test pass. So, we're going to do a little bit of a tricky one today. We're going to do something that you can do in Cold Fusion as well as JavaScript. So, I'm going to jump into that and let's get on with it. Okay, so this one we're going to look at the product of maximums of an array. So basically what happens is you get an array and then you get a number passed into your function. And what it needs to do is take the second argument, use that to determine which number of numbers you want to multiply together. So basically if you have an array of 3 and you take the two highest numbers, you've got 5 times 4 is 20. If we come down a little further, you'll see that this one here has a lot of numbers, including repeats. We want the top 5, and that equals 9,600. So what we need to do is do a couple little tricky things. So we'll do some array sorting. We'll maybe slice an array, or just loop through the first so many variables, etc. So let's try it. I'm going to try it in CFML first, and then maybe we'll try and do it in JavaScript real quick too, and sort of see the differences here. So let's train again. Okay, so we have going to return a numeric value from it. The function is called max product. We have a required array, ARR, and a required numeric size. And then below are all the tests we have to pass. So there's a few here. So some of the examples are in there as well. There's also a few extras, which is interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort the array. So we want to do an array, and now in Cold Fusion there's a member function called sort, and you can just tell it numeric, I believe, and that should sort the array by numeric. So that's the first step. And then what we want to do is we want to use the whatever the size is, we want to multiply that many numbers together. So we can probably just slice that array. So if we look here, I'm going to cheat and you can see if docs, because I always get my Cold Fusion and my JavaScript stuff confused. So we'll see what array slice does here. Okay, so then the next piece we would do array.slice using member functions, and so we have the offset and the length. So the offset would be 1, and we want the length of size. And then we want to loop through the multiplying by the answer. So we can do a reduce for that. So for reduce, we're going to basically loop through it. So we're going to start with a certain number and then just multiply out. So since we're multiplying, we can probably start it with a 1, or we can start it with the first item in there. So there is an array reduce function, but I believe there's a member function for that as well. So if we look that up here, and if you're looking on CFDocs, you just type in reduce. It probably won't pull up anything, but if you do array reduce, then it will. Just so you know, even though the member function syntax does support that too. So if we do an array, so arr.reduce, and this takes a function, and it has the result, it has an item, and then after the function, we'll have the second thing, which is the initial value. So we're going to use 1 for that because we're basically going to multiply everything through it. So in the function here, we're going to return the result times the item. So that's basically going to be the return of our function. So let's just format this a little nicer for NL. And see, I like to pseudocode stuff out so I can see what I'm actually doing, and then after that then I can clean it up and make it a little more pretty, shall we say. Okay, so here we sort by numeric, and I'm curious if that's ascending or descending by default. So ascending is the default, so we want descending. That's the option there. So that way the biggest numbers come first. We want to slice that array by size, and then we want to loop through them and do that. So I think this might work. Let's give it a run and see what syntax errors I have here. But ooh. So I'm wondering if it doesn't actually mutate the array with the slice, it just actually returns does it. So we might need to, let's see if we can chain it here. So we'll return the array.slice.reduce. So okay, and so let's try this again. So I'm wondering if maybe it's not acting on the actual array but giving you a return, which would be interesting. There we go. Okay, so slice returns a new array. Array.sort will actually sort the existing array, but array slice will actually give you a new one. It won't act on the existing one. So now what we could do is we could actually chain them a little more, because we know that array.sort actually returns the array we want. So we'll do array.sort, then array.slice, and then array.reduce. So a little more functional here. See if this works. This way we're not creating any new variables or anything, so keeping it clean, just working through. So we could probably make this a little easier, but I think this is pretty neat. So let's gonna attempt this. I'm gonna copy this code real quick, so we'll see what's different with the JavaScript one here in a minute. So let's attempt this here and see if we get anything for it. And we passed all the random tests as well. So the basic tests are here, and the random tests really, test your code for all those edge cases. So looks like we got it. So another couple of points for my honor here. And just so you know, Brad Wood, he had to up me, and he went and did a bunch of katas recently. He did a level 1 and a level 2. Apparently it took him half a day or something to do them, but he's now got 400 honor because he earned like 300 points from some of those. So pretty interesting. So let's see what Brad did. Speaking of Brad, so he did an array.sort.slice.reduce. So here he did the more functional fat arrow approach here. So this is pretty nice. I like this format, but I want it to be thorough. But it's very cool, Brad. I'll put best practices there. He has them all on one line. I like multiple lines just to make it a little more readable, so you can see that you've got the sort, then the slice, and then the reduce. But not too far away from that. That's pretty good. So here, this is array.sort, where he's actually passing in a function. This is Stefan, and this is very much the JavaScript approach. And so this code here, I think, will actually work for JavaScript. So I'm going to copy paste this one here in a minute and see if we can just throw that in there, see if that works. But basically, yeah, this is basically the same here. Looks like Brad, you can actually pass in a starting value here with the reduce function. But that's interesting. See, in JavaScript, you can't pass in default values and everything else, but you can in ColdFusion, which is pretty interesting. So unique trio, that's Scott Steinbeck. So He did an array.sort, added a total, then looped through up to that certain value and then returned it, which is another great way to do it too. So it's starting to see a few more Cold Fusion people out here, which is nice. Quintero J, I think that's Javier. So he's got a nice sort method too. So very cool. Well, Adrian's done it too. Man, he's got some really thorough. He's got comments and everything. I never comment my code in here. Well, Dave's got a really detailed Java doc here too. Yep, sorting and slicing to a new array and then doing a reduce. Yep, so lots of different ways to do the same thing. So pretty cool. Okay, so let me get back up here. I'm going to actually duplicate this window here. Ooh, that looks interesting. So let's try this in JavaScript. Okay, I'll go to details. So let's try this one in JavaScript here. Okay, so again, this test, this is more like Jasmine style tests. We got, or it might even be Mocha actually. But again, the same test cases here. It's just being translated for the language JavaScript. It's running on Node. So let's see what we had in our Cold Fusion code. So array.sort.slice.reduce. So just curious, how far off is our CFML? I wonder. Apart from the formatting. So let's get rid of this here. So okay, so this is the different part, because we have the nice array sort with a numeric option here. So I'm pretty sure this will not work in JavaScript, but the slice, this should work, I believe the same. And then we have a function, returning the result, passing in. So let's just run it and get the error code here, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that sort does not work. Oh, and they call it numbers, so let me change it back to ARR so it's consistent. Okay. So most of them did not work, and that's because that sort function just did not work, which is what I expected. So like I said, usually what you have to do in JavaScript is to pass in, basically pass in a closure. If you want a normal sort, you can do that fine with JavaScript. It'll basically just do a text sort though. So what I'm going to do here is pass in a function. So this is basically shorthand for a function. Return. That's essentially what it is, but with fat arrows you can remove the function and then you just have your arguments, and then if you're just going to do one line and you're just going to return something, you can skip that altogether and just do equals fat arrow. And so basically it just assumes that is curly braces with returning what you have on that line. If you need to do anything more, you can obviously still use curly braces even without the function here, but that should work there. So I think everything else should work. With the reduce though, I think we need to do well, let's see. I think this should work too. So let's run this and see if it works, and then we can try and make it a little prettier here. Ooh. We need 0 for the slice, because arrays in JavaScript start from 0, right? There we go. So that's the big difference there. So I'm actually curious if because it's numbers, I'm wondering if this actually would have worked. No, okay. I didn't think so, but because I think it would do it the other way. It would be the wrong order. So we'll run the sample test, but before we do that, let's make this into a fat arrow function. So we can return, instead of result, we could do result, and item could be I, and then we can make it a little shorter here. Okay. So now that's a little shorter for that, but like I said, we can take this. Let's just run it to make sure it works. I think you have to do fat arrows in here. So let's run it. Yep, see, Cold Fusion, you can actually mix and match. In JavaScript, you cannot. So little things like that always catch me up, but that's why we have tests, so you can make sure you're writing the right language. So let's attempt this here, see if it passes everything. running all the random tests, everything passed. So again, the JVM is a little slower, but basically our ColdFusion's code is almost the same. So it's funny because actually JavaScript's a little more restrictive. ColdFusion allows you to, give default values for functions and everything, and mix and match the fat error. So pretty cool. Let's submit that, and I'm sure we'll see some pretty interesting solutions here as well. But numbers of sorts. So this here is pretty much what we did. We just had it multiple lines, and so again, somebody else very similar to us. The main difference is I changed numbers to array, so that's the only real difference there. But this one here is using a constant, so it's just passing a fat arrow function as a variable, and you can call that in JavaScript, which is great. So a little more shorthand. But yeah, most of these are pretty much the same. Nothing too special here. Someone is looping over them like we saw in some of the ColdFusion examples too. Again, same thing here. So pretty interesting. So anyways, today we got 2 katas done, 1 in each language. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one. Have a great day.